We've got more news coming in right now. We're hearing that the death sentences of those three men convicted for the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi, the former Prime Minister, have been commuted to life in prison. That verdict coming down from a bench that was led by Chief Justice of India, P. Sathasivam. Remember, just a few weeks ago, Justice Sathasivam had given a very similar verdict in which he commuted the death sentences of 15 convicts to life in prison because their mercy petitions had been delayed. Rajiv Gandhi's three assassins, or the men involved in the plot to kill him, had appealed on similar grounds. We're now hearing that the Supreme Court has commuted their death sentences to life in prison as well. The verdict coming out just a few seconds ago. We're going to get you more reactions and updates from our correspondent of exactly what the bench had to say about the three men's petitions in the coming minutes. But the headline for the moment: three men convicted for the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi have had their death sentences commuted to life in prison on the grounds that their mercy petitions had been inordinately delayed. So as we're telling you, the three men, Santhan, Perarivalan and Murugan, have had their death sentences commuted to life in prison today. Remember that one of the women who was involved, there were 4 people convicted in this plot. A woman was among them, Nalini. Her death sentence had been commuted earlier to life in prison after a pardon from Sonia Gandhi, who was the widow of Rajiv Gandhi, the Prime Minister. She is now serving a life sentence. These three men will now have some relief in that respect as well, but with their death sentences now commuted to life. So the news just coming in that 3 of Rajiv Gandhi's assassins, 3 men involved in the plot to kill him, have had their death sentences commuted to life in prison. An important judgment from the Supreme Court. Remember, India had about 20 convicts on death row about a month ago. There are now just 2 left. Our correspondent Jaskirat Singh Bawa was in the court of Justice P. Sathasivam when this verdict was handed down. He now joins us live from outside the court. Jaskirat, what exactly did the judge with the Chief Justice say when he handed down his verdict?
Well, some of the excerpts of the judgment were read out by the Chief Justice Sathasivam today in the court while commuting the death sentences of the 3 convicts to life imprisonment. One of these contentions was when the Attorney General earlier this month argued that these people, while waiting for the mercy petition to be decided upon, were actually quote-unquote enjoying their lives, indulging in extracurricular activities, etc. The Chief Justice today observed that he does not buy into that argument by the centre, by the Attorney General, because based on the records, it is proven that they repeatedly asked for commutation, or they repeatedly asked for a decision to be taken on their mercy petitions, that they were anxiously waiting for over a decade for their mercy petitions to be decided upon. And of course, the Indian law does not have any merit or any provision where a convict has to prove that they underwent a mental torture or mental agony as a result of the inordinate delay. Taking it as a continuation of the 21st January judgment where 15 death sentences were commuted to life sentence, the Supreme Court today has maintained a consistency with that and also suggested to the government, recommending officially that the government should start considering delay in decision of the mercy petition while actually deciding on those mercy pleas eventually, or delay in even executing that particular punishment. Also observing that there is no statutory provision for a time limit for a governor or a president to decide on the mercy petition. Keeping that in mind, the government on its own part should at least ensure that there is no bureaucratic delay in processing the files when it comes to deciding on mercy pleas of death row convicts.
Jaskirat, I want to come back to you on this judgment, because while Chief Justice Sathasivam has shown consistency in line with what he decided in January, were there fears expressed by the Attorney General that in this particular case, because it involves the assassination of a former Prime Minister, perhaps things are different? Jaskirat, if I can come back to you with that question once again. Justice Sathasivam showing consistency in his judgments from January to today's judgment as well. But were there any fears expressed by the Attorney General that in the case of an assassination of a former Prime Minister, perhaps a commutation of a death sentence may not be the best decision?
Well, again, taking a leaf from his book from the 21st January judgment, the Chief Justice, although I must say the details of this judgment are yet to come out in the later half of the day, based on whatever we've heard in the court so far on the excerpts of the judgment, it is being felt that when it comes to a violation of Article 21, there is no difference between the kind of crime that has been committed, even if it's the rarest of rare crime. For example, in the case of Devindra Singh Bhullar, the judgment of April 2013, where the Justice Singhvi, former judge of the Supreme Court, had said that it is not a crime under the Indian Penal Code, but under the TADA, it is a terror act, and that terror act has to be taken into account while deciding on the delay of a mercy petition being decided upon. Now, that was overturned by the Chief Justice on the 21st of January. So
right.
You can imagine that this is perhaps a consistency being maintained and a continuation, that when it comes to a violation of Article 21, when it comes to the fact that there is a mental torture, which is of course a violation of Article 21, the right to life and personal dignity, that there is no difference between the kind of punishment that the person is actually being convicted of.